Hello everyone, welcome to the round 6 preview here on the Blue Abroad YouTube channel. It's the Carlton Footy Club up against the North Melbourne Kangaroos. Friday, Good Friday, 3:20 p.m, Marvel Stadium. It's about time we got stuck into this game. Waited for the injury report to come out. This preview is coming out a little later in the week than usual. Just wanted to get through the full review of last week, and got to say, it was nice to enjoy a win. For some reason, there's this air of expectation that I sense within the community and within the fan base, like not to enjoy the win too much. And I don't think for whatever reason, I don't think anyone is. And I think within that tells a story of a standard being raised. No one is getting too ahead of themselves after last week. The hope is that it was one step forward after quite a few steps back, and that this Friday presents the next chance for the Blues to take one step closer to getting their form back. But we'll see what happens. This will be the first time going into a North Melbourne clash that I'm not going in thinking, look at where North are at, look at where we're at, and we should be winning this game by 10 goals. And that, I think, speaks to the development of North, and to be quite honest, speaks to the lack of development of the Blues. So I'm not going and expecting a belting, but I do expect a win. Carlton should be winning this game. And the reason why I say that is because we are still far more experienced as a group than what the Roos are. And the Roos are, youth or being young, I don't know if that's the right word or the right phrase, but if you can't expect to be beating North Melbourne, then what are we doing? The issue is, for whatever reason, particularly in the Carlton forward line, we just haven't been able to see continuity. Kemp goes in, Kemp comes out. Sauce goes in, Sauce goes out. Harry comes in, Harry comes out. Francis Evans is in, he's out. The plan was Orazio Fantasia, he's not healthy. Will White comes in, is he going to stay? And we're suffering for it, I believe. I think, generally speaking, the defensive profile of the team is good and is going in the right direction. For whatever reason, apart from the inconsistency in the availability in the forward line and the form, our ability to score is just not where it could be. Now, last week was a bit of a reprieve. We played against a side who did not put a lot of pressure on compared to what we're going to get this week and for the weeks to come. But at the same time, it was, I think, still important to see the ball go through the middle of the sticks. And I'm optimistic that some players found some form that can carry through to this week. And sometimes you just need to see yourself do it. When you're out of form and you're low on confidence, you just need one game to find it and hopefully build some momentum. So, all the momentum was lost. And I don't suggest that the momentum was found last week, but it could be found this week. 2 weeks in a row, you get rolling, you get comfortable. There have been some adjustments made and some tinkers to roles throughout the midfield, even in the back line at times. And so now we come up against a hungry North Melbourne outfit, and they don't have, it's an interesting proposition because North do not have the defensive profile that Carlton has, but don't think the Blues have the offensive focus that North have. I had a really good chat with Marnie Cohen from Kanga TV, and she spoke to this. And I think the more she spoke to me about it, the more confident I got for the Blues this week. I think from the North point of view, there's a feeling of this is a 50-50 game. From my point of view, I don't believe it's... if we're talking 50-50 game against North, then we're in trouble. But we are in trouble. So I do understand that. And you can't be taking North lightly. I think the temptation that I've seen amongst the Carlton community is to talk about, it doesn't matter what happens this week because all that matters is what happens in, the month after when we play Geelong and St Kilda and Adelaide and these types. And that is so dangerous because if any of those players think that way, we'll lose this week. Such is the season. And again, such is what happened in round 1. And that's going to stick with me for the entirety of the season, which is not a bad thing because I think it keeps me humble for every single match. So more than anything, a win is the most important aspect of this week. There will be changes made to the team. We have official confirmation that Brodie Kemp's Achilles has been ruptured. He's done for the season. So, and Harry Mackay won't play for a couple of weeks, or this game and maybe the next one at the bare minimum. So all of a sudden, again, changes are going to be made to the forward line. And with that is likely to come some teething issues and some more inconsistency in availability in the forward half of the ground. And the question is, okay, which avenue will the Blues go with? Is it a Lewis Young for Harry Mackay and have Lewis Young pinch it in the ruck? Or do you bring in a Mark Pitternet for Harry Mackay and have Tom play more as a forward or rest more as a forward? Keeping in mind, Pitto's not match fit, I wouldn't think, given he didn't get a chance to play in the VFL last week because there was no VFL. So that's an interesting conversation. And I wonder where your mind sits with that and where you think, or what you would want and where you think it would go. Interesting with Tom, the conversation this week in the mainstream heated up. For some reason, the Saints seem to have more of a pulling power this week than the week before. And the conversation continues, and that's the nature of the beast. So Tom's in a really interesting spot in his career. He won't have too many experiences like this where he's, out of contract while still playing. So he needs to perform well for his team that he plays for now. And if he's going to be leaving or whatever the case may be, he's got this external noise that just lingers there. So until he signs the deal with the Blues or until he indicates that he might not be going to the Blues, it's going to be interesting to see how he plays. And this is the first time in his career where it's been to this level. And I think that is just the nature of Tom and how good he has become as a footballer. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do with that. I've seen a lot of commentary around, well, if he's going to leave, we should just let us know and we can not play him. I don't know about that. I think we will become mature enough as an industry eventually that if a player was to leave, and this is just my take, if a player was to leave and we knew they were leaving, we would still play them this year. But I'm curious to get your take on that. So there's the Pitto, Lewis Young question. Blake Acres, who was out with an illness last week, I would think he's going to come back if it was just illness and he was just sick on the day. And again, illness, when I read illness, I interpret that as, the cold, the flu, gastro, something like that. So I'm going to assume that that's what it was and that he'll be back. And then the other one is Elijah. This is my personal preference. I think Elijah has the attributes as a midfielder / forward that we're lacking. He's got some creativity. He creates angles because of his ability to kick on both sides of his body. And I think we are crying out for a player just like him in there. And I've always rated Elijah as a footballer, and I'm mindful of whatever's going on in his personal life. And I just hope that the environment of playing for Carlton is one that is part of the solution. And that's something that, not even hope, I would expect that the culture that's being built at the Carlton Football Club is one where, footy is full of joy and sport is full of joy, and playing with your mates is the solution to whatever's going on off the field. So I hope that we're ready to see that from Elijah. But if we're not, we're not. It is what it is. But I think we're crying out for a player just like him. And then there's the other suggestion of, okay, Brodie Kemp, he's done. That is the opportunity for someone like a young Ashton Moyer to come in and play that exact role, that third tall option. And, he's got some attributes as well, Ashton. He's pretty mobile. The pressure that he applies is clearly not at the level for him to be playing regular senior football at the moment. So we'll see what they do, but changes will definitely be coming 2 to 3. I would think Acres for sure. And then I actually think Elijah for sure, if he's put his hand up for selection and he was in an emergency last week, he'll definitely come in. And then I guess the question is it Lewis Young or is it Mark Pitternet? So that's what I'm thinking from the Carlton point of view. And then, Yeah, I guess from Friday's standpoint, I'm not trying to think too much about what does it mean if we get the win. I just want to go and enjoy the footy. I feel like this first part of 2025, the joy of footy has been sucked out of me a little bit, which is sad. And obviously that comes with, expecting the Blues to be good and watching the dysfunction and being disappointed. And, if there's a lot of supporters out there that are feeling, from a little bit optimistic to, venomously pessimistic. And I actually feel like we need to I'll start with myself. I need to calm down a bit and try and enjoy the football and not bring everyone else down. And I think I've noticed a bit of that amongst the community. Like everyone's pissed off. Not everyone. Most people are pissed off, and most people are using that frustration to not allow other people to just try and enjoy the footy. I'll turn my head to one of two roads here. It's either remaining hopeful for 2025, and this is the struggle that I'm going through at the moment as a supporter. I'm trying to understand, is there still hope for 2025 and doing something? And on the other end, okay, if that's not the case, then it's time to look forward to the future and trying to understand, okay, who's going to be with us moving forward and who's part of the next tilt at it. And that's where I find myself, which I think is a bit bizarre and I think is a bit overreactionary. It's April. There's plenty of time left. Like plenty of time left. 0-4 whole, not great. 0-5, 0-6 is worse. We're 1-4. We have an opportunity to go 2-4. If it's going to be 1-5, like, okay, fair enough. It's going to get uglier and uglier, but it's just not over. I just refuse to believe that it's over. It might look over, but it's looked over many times in the past before, not just for Carlton, but for many other teams. So I still think every week, no matter what is happening, there is an opportunity to find out what you need to use to move forward with the group. And I think the expectations, I expect improvement. For me, improvement is a non-negotiable. We need to be improving, particularly in 2025, given the way that we started. And like I said at the start of the video, I don't think the defensive profile of the team is bad. I think the offensive profile of the team is where we're getting unstuck. So that's where I sit. But I am curious about you. Like, there's the frustration for you just stay after games, because I've noticed it just continue to filter even up until game day, and usually that's when I'm ready to enjoy the footy again, particularly a day or two before a game starts. But it's an interesting thing that I've picked up, and there's just tension and frustration. And even when I spoke to Marnie about this in our interview yesterday, expectation is a good thing because it means that your team is improving or it's in a position where you think you're ready to start winning and being successful. On the flip side, expectation can be a burden because you expect to be good and you expect to be successful. And so when it doesn't happen, your expectation is what is the cause of such anger and frustration. So anyway, what do you think about that? What do you think about team selection? What do you think about the season? And how do you approach game to game, knowing that there's frustration clearly happening and there's dysfunction that's clearly happening and there are clear problems with a lot of things that we're seeing on the field and off the field? So how do you navigate through that, given it's only round 6 and there's still a lot of the year to watch, consume, and play out? So I'll leave you with that thought, chat about it with you in the comments, and we'll go from there. And finally, do not forget this week, the Cheer Squad Raffle. It is a 2025 team-signed Guernsey, and you can get a raffle ticket from the link in the description below. And all proceeds from this raffle are going to go to the Good Friday appeal. So the Cheer Squad do this every year. If you would like to purchase raffle tickets, you can do so. Just hit the description below, hit the link, buy your raffle tickets, or even on the day, if you want to go to where the Cheer Squad are pre-game and just pay in person, go see Nick, throw some cash at him, and I'm sure he'll be able to sort you out. So we'll go from there. Chat soon, hoping for a win. Go Blues.